She thought I was in Chicago. She even texted me that morning, complaining about the hotel's Rubbery room service eggs and the packed gym. I'd told her I'd be stuck in meetings all day. "Hope it's a good day, honey," she wrote, tossing in a little red heart emoji. The same one she used to send when our connection felt like it meant everything. But I wasn't in Chicago. I was 3 miles from our house, parked in my car with the engine off, windows rolled down, watching the breeze shake the trees in a bar's parking lot, a place I hadn't visited in years. I knew she'd be here tonight. I knew because I'd finally chosen to pay attention. Really pay attention. The last few weeks had been filled with subtle clues, missed calls, unexplained gaps in communication, the faint trace of a perfume that stuck around even after she'd showered. A change in her touch, like her hands were only half there, even with me. Then came the text that flipped everything upside down, sent to me by accident, or maybe not, I'll never know for sure. It just said, "Can't wait to see you tonight, same bar." It wasn't from me. And it wasn't meant for me, but it came from her, so I made a decision. No arguments, no accusations, just watching. I rearranged my flights, told my assistant to block all calls, and rented a car. I checked into a cheap motel with flickering fluorescent lights and a mattress that smelled like damp neglect. The kind of place where nobody cares who you are. I didn't plan to stay long, just long enough to confirm what I needed to know. And now, here I was, watching the bar glow as evening settled in. I saw her silver Honda pull into a spot, gleaming like she'd chosen it for this moment. She stepped out, her red dress clinging to her like a vow. This wasn't the outfit of someone meeting friends for casual drinks. This was deliberate. Calculated. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't tremble. I felt calm, like something inside me had already let go. I waited 10 more minutes before walking inside. The bar was dim, buzzing with people. Music pulsed low, like a heartbeat in the walls. I slipped in through the back door, past the restrooms, down the kitchen hallway. I'd worked as a bartender in college. I knew the layout of places like this. I knew how to disappear into the crowd. She didn't notice me. Of course she didn't. She was too busy kissing him. I stood about 20 feet away, tucked in the shadows behind a pillar near the bar's edge. I watched her laugh first, head thrown back, hand resting on his arm like he was the wittiest guy in the room. Then she leaned in, not cautious, not tentative, like it was a routine they'd perfected, like it was theirs. The kiss wasn't long, but it was enough. She turned to wave at the bartender, probably to order another round. Then her eyes locked on mine. That moment didn't erupt. It froze. Her smile vanished so fast it might have cracked. Her mouth stayed open, her hand still raised. And I just stood there, letting her register that I was supposed to be 600 miles away. She didn't move. Neither did he. He looked puzzled, like he thought I was just some guy who might cause trouble. I walked to the bar, slowly, steady, stood 2 stools away from them and slid a 20 across the counter. "Just a soda," I told the bartender. "I'm driving." He handed me a glass without a word. I took a sip, looked straight at her, and I smiled. Not a bitter smile, not a victorious one, just weary, done. The kind of smile you give when your heart finally catches up to what your mind already knew. She whispered my name, barely loud enough to cut through the music. I tipped the bartender, gave a polite nod, and walked out. That was it. No shouting, no drama, no fists or shattered glasses. I stepped back into the night like it was just another evening. Got in my car, sat there for a few long minutes. Then I drove, not home. I wasn't sure what home even meant anymore. Back at the motel, the walls buzzed with distant cars and creaking pipes. I sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, staring at my hands. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I just felt this heavy stillness. Not peace, just stillness. You spend years loving someone, building a life, and it takes seconds, seconds to see the fractures that were always there. I thought about all the late nights I worked to secure our future, the birthdays I postponed, the trips I cut short, the quiet ways I tried to make her feel safe, and I thought about how her eyes started looking through me these past few months, like she was searching for something I couldn't give her anymore. Or maybe never had. I wasn't a perfect husband. I can admit that now. I got too quiet when I should have spoken. I thought paying the bills, being reliable was enough. I forgot that being there isn't just about showing up physically. You've got to show up emotionally, too. And maybe I'd stopped doing that somewhere along the line. But betrayal, that wasn't something I'd ever deserved. The next morning she called, 6 times. I let them go to voicemail. On the 7th, I picked up. "Where are you?" she asked, her voice thin, breaking. "Does it matter?" Silence. Then, "It wasn't what you think." I almost laughed, almost. "You kissed him in public while I was supposed to be on a business trip." "He doesn't mean anything," she whispered. Then why did it mean something to you? Another silence, then a sob. I didn't think you cared anymore, she said. That hit hard, not because it excused her, but because it reminded me how people stop talking long before they stop being loyal. You never said anything, I said. You never asked, she shot back, and there it was. The sad balance of our collapse, two people drifting apart, quietly assuming the worst, never saying the things that might have saved us. I'm not coming home tonight, I said. Or tomorrow. I don't know when. What do I tell people? She asked. I thought about it. Tell them whatever lets you rest easy, and I hung up. Later that day, I drove toward the coast. No destination, just motion. I stopped at gas stations, ate greasy food, played old playlists from my phone like they could turn back time. Songs we used to sway to in the kitchen now felt like echoes of a ghost story. At one point, I pulled over at a cliffside lookout. There was an old bench facing the ocean. I sat there for what felt like an hour, watching waves crash against rocks like they were fighting for something. I kept thinking, how many times had she done this? How many times had I been away working for us while she chased something for herself? But mostly I thought about her eyes when she saw me. That split second of realization, of panic, of guilt, and how it told me everything I'd tried to ignore. That the marriage I pictured in my head was gone. Maybe it had never existed. That night I checked into another motel. This one had a better bed and slightly less faded wallpaper. I wrote a letter I never sent, just needed to get the words out. You didn't just kiss him, you kissed away the part of me that still believed in us. You kissed the quiet mornings, the shared laughs, the dreams we made for later. I'm not leaving because you kissed him. I'm leaving because you looked happy doing it. And I haven't seen that version of you with me in a long, long time. Betrayal teaches you strange things. It shows you that trust doesn't break in one moment. It wears down over 1,000 tiny ones. That distance in a marriage doesn't start with cheating. It starts with neglect. Forgotten thank yous, silence where laughter used to live. And it teaches you how to sit with yourself. Really sit, with the silence, the pain, the unanswered questions, and not look away. I didn't go home for 3 days. No bags, no spare clothes. Just me, my phone, mostly off, and a growing sense that everything I thought I'd built was fragile as glass. The world didn't stop. Emails kept coming. Clients kept needing things. My assistant texted, everything okay. I replied, eventually, just need some space. She didn't push. Funny how we learn to act like everything's fine. The motel room stopped feeling like a hideout and started feeling like a waiting room for a new chapter of my life. I woke early, drank bad coffee, walked through unfamiliar streets, and listened to music you only play when you're trying to feel something real. Something raw. I kept picturing the bar. The way she smiled at him. The ease of it. How he touched her back like it was his place. And how she didn't pull away. You see things differently when you're the one watching, when you're not supposed to be there. And I couldn't stop wondering how long had I been absent. On the 4th day, I went home. She wasn't there. Or maybe she made sure she wouldn't be. Either way, the silence in the house felt like it belonged to someone else. I walked through every room like I was trespassing on a life that didn't want me anymore. Our wedding photo still sat on the bookshelf. She hadn't touched it. I don't know if that made it better or worse. There was a note on the counter, if you want to talk, I'm here. I don't want this to end like this. I didn't pick it up. Just left it there like another shadow in the house. That evening, I stood in our bedroom doorway for a long time. I remembered the day she moved in. How she joked about needing more closet space. How we lay on the floor that night, buzzed on wine, planning a future with goofy names for kids we never had and trips we never took. I lay on the bed. My side still carried a hint of her shampoo. Or maybe I imagined it. I didn't cry. But my chest hurt in that deep, quiet way that lingers, like your soul's been bruised. I realized I was grieving something that didn't die overnight. It had been fading for months, maybe years. She came home the next morning. I was at the kitchen table, coffee gone cold, eyes red from a sleepless night. She walked in like she was stepping into a trial, her face cautious, keys gripped tight in her hand. "Hey," she said. "Hey." It was the gentlest exchange we'd had in weeks. She sat across from me, not reaching for me, not touching me, just staring. "I know I hurt you," she said finally, "and I'm not here to defend it. I'm not." I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I was listening. "I don't even know when it started," she went on. "Not the affair, the distance, us. You stopped seeing me. I stopped asking about your day. We started sharing silence more than anything else." I waited. Let her fill the quiet if she needed to. "I should have said something," she whispered, "but I didn't know how, and he was easy. He listened. He made me feel noticed." Those words cut deeper than I expected. Not because of him, but because I remembered being that guy for her once. I didn't mean for it to happen, she added, her eyes shining now. But it did, and I didn't stop it. There it was, the truth, no more half-truths. No more dodging, just a quiet confession. Why didn't you tell me? I asked finally. I think I wanted to get caught, she said, her voice breaking. I think part of me wanted you to see it, because I didn't know how to say it out loud. That broke me in a new way, because I knew what it was like to feel trapped in something you no longer recognized. We talked for 2 hours. No yelling, no demands, just honest words. I told her how it felt to watch her kiss him, how my stomach didn't sink but my heart did. How it wasn't the kiss that broke me, it was the comfort in it. The ease, like it belonged to them more than anything belonged to us. She told me she missed how I used to hold her, how I'd text her in the middle of the day just to check in. How I made her laugh when life felt heavy. How that version of me had slipped away. And she didn't know how to reach for him again. We both failed in different ways. She broke our vows, I broke our connection. When she left that morning, I didn't stop her. She packed a bag slowly, glancing at me every few minutes. I think she was waiting for me to say, stay. But I didn't, because I wasn't sure if I wanted her to. Some wounds don't kill you, but they still need time to heal. That week, I started journaling for the first time in years. Not to fix anything, but to pour out something before it festered inside me. I wrote about the bar. The exact moment her eyes met mine. The way I smiled. Not to guilt her, but to free myself from the weight of hoping. And how, after all that, I didn't feel rage as much as I felt clarity. Clarity that we'd been pretending for too long. A few days later, she emailed me. Not a text, an email. I'm not asking to come back. I know you need space. I'm just saying I get it. I've started therapy. I'm sorry. And no matter what happens, I'll never forget the version of us that was good. The version that made me feel like the luckiest woman alive. I hope you find peace with or without me. I stared at that email for hours before replying. All I wrote was, thanks for being honest. I'm not ready to forgive. But I'm not here to hate either. I just need time. It's strange what happens when the storm starts to settle. You remember things that didn't hurt before but do now. Like how she'd rest her hand on my chest as she fell asleep, or how she hummed while cooking. The sound of her steps on the stairs, the scent of her perfume on the pillows. And yet you also remember who you were before her, the long walks you took to clear your mind, the friends you drifted from, the dreams you quietly set aside because life got busy and love asked for compromises. I started reconnecting with those old friends, started running again, reading, cooking for myself. It wasn't healing, not completely, but it was movement, and sometimes that's enough to keep going. People think when you discover your partner's cheating, you either burn it all down or forgive them right away. But there's a third path no one mentions. You sit in the middle of it. You breathe through it. You ask yourself tough questions. Not just about them, but about you. What did I miss? Where did I stop trying? What version of me do I want moving forward? 3 weeks after that night at the bar, I ran into her at the grocery store. It wasn't planned. Aisle 7, cereal and oatmeal. She looked smaller somehow, less put together, but her eyes softened when she saw me. Hey, she said. Hey, no anger, no bitterness, just history standing in a supermarket. She asked how I was. I told her I was figuring it out. She nodded. Me too. We stood in silence for a moment too long, then she smiled. A real smile, not the polished kind. I'll always be sorry, she said. I nodded. And I'll always remember when we were happy. She walked away after that. And I stood there staring at a box of Cheerios, feeling like I'd just closed a chapter without meaning to. Not a dramatic finale, just a quiet page turning. A month had passed since that night. 31 days since I stood in that bar and watched her kiss another man. 31 nights of sleeping in a bed that no longer held her shape. Some mornings I woke up reaching for her out of habit, only to find cold sheets and that hollow silence you don't get used to, you just learn to live with. I wasn't angry anymore. Not in the loud, explosive way people expect. It was more like a dull ache in my chest. A quiet reminder that I'd once trusted her with everything and she let it slip. But grief has a way of reshaping itself. It stops shouting and starts murmuring. It shows you not just what you lost, but what you almost lost in yourself. I started therapy, quietly, without telling anyone. The first session was strange. I didn't know how to talk about betrayal without sounding like I was venting. But the therapist, an older guy, ex-Navy, just let me sit in silence for the first 10 minutes. No pressure, just space. Eventually, I started talking. About the kiss, about the years before it, about how I thought being reliable was enough. And somewhere in that conversation, I admitted something I hadn't even told myself. I'd been lonely too. Long before the affair, long before the distance. Somewhere along the way, we stopped being partners and started being polite strangers with shared expenses. She pulled away. I buried myself in work. We both called it normal, called it life. But love doesn't vanish in a blaze. It erodes bit by bit until the person across from you feels more like a roommate than a spouse. I saw my role in that now, not to justify what she did, but to understand the ground we both tilled. A few weeks later, I boxed up the wedding album, not out of spite, just readiness. I kept one photo, just one. Us on a beach in Santa Monica, sun dipping behind us. She's looking at me like I hung the stars. And I'm looking at her like I'm scared she'll disappear if I blink. That moment was real. No matter what came after, we were good once. That's the part I wanted to hold on to. One night in early spring, she called, not to plead. Not to rehash, just to talk. She said she'd been going to therapy, too, said she hadn't seen him since that night at the bar. Said she'd started writing again, something she used to do before life got heavy. "Are you okay?" she asked, genuinely. "I'm getting there," I said. We talked for an hour about safe things, the past, the future, what we'd learned. "I don't expect anything," she said. "Not forgiveness, not a second chance. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better, even if it's not for us." That meant more than she knew. In early summer, the divorce papers arrived. We didn't fight over the house or the money. It was a quiet, respectful process. Two people who'd once loved deeply enough to build a life, now loving each other enough to take it apart without cruelty. She signed first. I signed 2 days later. When I mailed them in, I didn't cry. I sat in my car for a long time afterward, watching a storm roll in over the hills. The sky broke open with thunder, and I swear, it felt like something inside me finally let go. That weekend, I drove to the lake. Just me, a thermos of coffee, and a chair I set up by the water's edge. The lake was still, like a mirror. The kind of calm that makes you think, even for a moment, that peace is possible. I pulled out my journal and wrote her a letter I'd never send. "You weren't the only one who drifted. I did too, in my own quiet ways. I buried myself in work, in logic, in routine. I stopped looking at you like you were everything. I treated love like a checklist. That doesn't excuse what you did, but it explains how we ended up here. I hope you find someone who sees you and stays present. I hope I do, too. But more than anything, I hope we both forgive ourselves for what we missed, what we broke, what we couldn't fix." I tore out the page, folded it, and burned it. Let the ashes drift into the lake. They say healing isn't linear. They're right, some days I felt free. Others, I missed the way she'd hum while brushing her teeth. The way she'd pull my arm around her in bed, even half asleep. But I didn't miss the tension, the unspoken grudges. The feeling of being slowly erased from her world. I missed who we were, not who we became, and there's a difference. Months passed, seasons changed. I took a new job, smaller company, less travel, more time to breathe. I got a dog. A stubborn mutt named Charlie who chews my shoes and sleeps like he owns the bed. I started calling my parents more. Went hiking with old friends. Read books instead of emails before bed. Life didn't go back to what it was. It moved forward into something new, something quieter, something lighter. I ran into her again 8 months after the bar, a Saturday morning at the farmer's market. She was with her sister, I was with Charlie. We smiled, genuinely. She asked if I was happy, and I paused, wanting to answer honestly. "I'm learning how to be," I said. She nodded. "Me too." We didn't linger, just exchanged good wishes and walked away. But that moment stuck with me all day, how simple it was, how gentle. Like we'd finally let go of the weight we'd both been carrying. I'll never forget what she did. But I'll also never forget the years we had before it fell apart. The late-night drives, the road trip playlists. The inside jokes no one else would understand. She was my person, once. And maybe that's the most complex kind of love, the kind that ends but still mattered. These days, when I pass a bar like the one where she kissed him, I don't turn away from the truth, and I don't hate the person who did it. I just smile a little, not because I'm bitter, but because I remember the man who stood there, heart quietly breaking, and chose dignity over destruction. He didn't yell, didn't make a scene. He just smiled, tipped the bartender, and walked away. And somehow that version of me, the one who walked out with grace, is the one I'm most proud of becoming.